Welcome everyone to Joining in Light group, and we'll be focusing on the light and focusing on desires and the releasing of desires that come up that we're ready to look at for a miracle. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Mary.
Welcome, welcome.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here.
Oh,
I actually have
great.
to.
Looking forward to seeing you in person soon.
Yes. You know, and Kathleen is trying to get in. So one of us needs to tell her it's the same password?
Okay. Can you do that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Okay, great.
She just texted me this minute. So,
Okay.
and I'm actually going to be outside for a minute with my dog.
Okay.
So I'm going to not be on video.
Okay.
Okay, I just sent it to her.
Okay, great. So I was just starting to say that this is the beginning of our weekly joining sessions to look at desires that come up and join as a group. Hi, Kathy. Welcome. We have two more joining us. There'll be at least three of us, hopefully. So I'm a little new at this, so I may repeat. This will be the third time I've said welcome to our weekly Joining in Light sessions to look at desires and release them. So as soon as Kathleen and Laura get on, we're going to ask to join in the light and then see if anyone is hearing a particular desire that they want us to address. And for anyone who may be watching this later, we're going to be using, let's see, where did I put it here? We're going to be using the guidance sheet, the miracle worksheet for guidance for joining in Light Brigade. And so I may or may not follow this exactly. But if you have it handy, you might want to refer to it. Laura, are you still with us? So while we're waiting for the other two to join us, in fact, it may not, Kathy, Laura may have been referring to you because she said Kathy had messaged her, and I think she meant you and not Kathleen. So maybe there's just you and Laura and I joining today.
Perhaps.
Yes.
Where's the?
Have you heard from Laura yet? Has she messaged you?
Well, she just posted. I just saw her asking for the password.
For the password. I think she did just post it. Okay, she was going to go outside, wasn't going to have access to the video, but let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and just get quiet and get still, focus within, and join with the light, which is always here, the infinite light of being. So let's ask Jesus, is there a desire below my level of awareness that would be most useful for the healing of my mind right now and for service to the whole? And so let's listen and see if there's a desire there that begins to surface, that you begin to hear. And as you do, go ahead, and I'll keep my eyes open. Hi, Kathleen, welcome. So we've just asked to join in the light. And now we're asking for a desire below our level of awareness that is beginning to become clear, that is Jesus is guiding us to, for the healing of our mind and a service to the whole. Is anyone hearing a desire they'd like to bring to the light circle? I'll try to keep my eyes open.
I'm not hearing anything, but what I'm feeling is, like endangered, threatened, endangered.
So if we put that in the form of a desire, it would be a desire below your level of awareness to feel endangered.
To feel that I'm not safe.
Okay. So the desire to feel unsafe. Do we want to say unsafe in the world? The desire to feel unsafe in the world?
I don't know. I'm not feeling really any difference between the two.
Okay. So are there any other desires that anyone is hearing? The way I'm being guided to do this is that if anybody has any desire that's come up, any kind of an upset, and you may or may not be able to specify exactly what the upset is about. In fact, what the guide sheets say is that the best thing to do is just come to a circle and say, I'm upset, and then see what guidance comes through. And then we can also get very specific, like Kathy just did. I have a desire to feel unsafe. Or one that came up for me this morning was, I have a desire to use my body as a weapon against God because I feel tired so much. So if anyone has any other desires to just bring to the circle, then we're all going to pray and ask which desire is most useful for us to look at for the healing of the mind and a service to the whole. Okay, Laura just posted one, the desire to feel guilty for existing. So a deep desire to feel guilty just for existing. So Jesus, what desire would you have us look at right now that would be most useful for healing our mind? And see what you hear. Okay, Kathleen, can you unmute yourself? I think you did.
Yes. My desire, the desire that comes up for me is the desire for helplessness, feeling helpless.
Okay. Oh, we've got some goodies here. The desire to feel unsafe, the desire for guilt just for existing, and the desire for helplessness. Hi, Eric. Welcome.
Hi, Mary. Thank you.
Do you have a desire that's something that's come up that you'd like to bring to the light circle?
Yeah, I've just told that I'm desiring sickness.
Desire for sickness?
Yes.
Okay. All right. These all tie together. Isn't it amazing?
Mm-hmm.
So let's all look within and ask for our inner guidance on which desire would be most useful for us to look at right now. And we're going to go then within to do some more looking. I'm hearing the desire for helplessness. Anyone hearing anything they want to share? What I'm hearing is that each of us with these other desires we brought in all kind of tie together. The desire for sickness, the desire for feeling unsafe, the desire for guilt. For me, it was using my body as a weapon against God, feeling tired a lot. All tie in with helplessness. And I need to let a dog out the door. I'll be right back in about 2 seconds. Okay. He was sleeping in here with the door closed. Okay, let's check back in. So Jesus, is this the desire that you would have us look at right now? Let's hear what you're hearing. I'm hearing yes.
Mm.
So what we want to look at now is not a specific experience, but the desire, the relishing of the desire for the experience. So there's a deep relishing of the desire for helplessness. So let's look with Jesus at the desire, excuse me, for helplessness. And when you're hearing something that you'd like to share, go ahead and say something. What I'm hearing is just really looking at how much we relish being helpless, which seems like the opposite of what we want to see ourselves as being. But we see the relishing of being helpless. Anyone hearing anything they want to share?
Mary,
Yeah.
um, I feel like I'm just going to share what I'm experiencing, and see if that opens up anymore so the desire that's segueing into this desire for helplessness is this incredibly powerful feeling of guilt that goes from like the solar plexus up to the throat. And it's pretty intense. And I was just working with a thing, I won't give any details of the story, but health insurance stuff, and trying to figure some things out. And it was just like, I just felt this punch of guilt come in, based on some advice I'm getting that doesn't resonate for me. But then there's a nervousness on my part. I'm just seeing this sort of worldly, like which choice to make. So that could definitely fit in with the theme of like feeling a little bit helpless, which is making me want to laugh in this moment. And the biggest part of me just wants to totally surrender all of that, which I always have done, my care to Christ, rather than relying on these systems, and seeing some resistance around that, like, oh, is that the right responsible thing to do, So I'm just sharing my experience rather than what I'm hearing from Jesus. I'm complete.
Okay. Yeah, we want to, there's something quite amazing that occurs when we look at the wanting of this helplessness, or the wanting of the guilt, or the wanting of sickness, or the wanting of feeling unsafe. When we look at it and own it, and recognize that it wouldn't be occurring, it wouldn't be happening if there wasn't below our level of awareness some relishing of that desire. So I'm hearing that with helplessness comes, I don't have to be responsible. I can just let it take me over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's that relishing of the experience of, I have no responsibility in this. It's bigger than God. It's more powerful than God. I'm helpless. And look at the relishing of that. It seems bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Has real power, though, looking at the wanting of the helplessness. Just be with the wanting of it, wanting to be helpless. I really want to be helpless. And what I'm hearing is, who is the I that wants to be helpless? Does God want us to be helpless?
And in my experience, there's the knowing of the presence, the knowing of the I that isn't helpless. And there's this experience of the punch in the gut and that goes up. It's basically the throat and the gut are the ones that are feeling the vibrational experience. I'm just looking at and what's
Looking at the wanting of that experience. Is anyone else hearing anything? Is anything coming up that you want to share?
I'll share. When you had said, get in touch with the feeling of that, I had a very visceral experience of how delicious that relishing of helplessness is, that you can taste it throughout your being and it tastes good, contrary to what you would think. But after I had that, I saw a toddler in one of a high chair, and he had his little tray, and the foods were there, and he started to throw them around. It was this amazing temper tantrum, very, very involved with self, but also, I don't care. You know, you're going to listen to me, you're going to hear me. I'm on fire, I'm furious, but I'm also in control. The image of the toddler is almost the helplessness seal of approval. I remain without power, but then the question is, really? You have what you think is power by staying completely focused on projected self. You can't really expand. The helplessness keeps you small. You remain that toddler. And there's something very attractive about it. It's tasty. It's like I don't have to grow. I want to remain stuck and small. And I want my chocolate pudding. now. That sort of thing. Complete. It's also very isolating, feeling the isolation of helplessness. And there can be something delicious about that as well.
Mm-hmm. It's a place to hide.
Yeah. Yeah. Complete.
I was getting a lot of the same things Kathleen just expressed, but kind of through a very different way. I wasn't not so much in touch with the relishing. It's almost like I can see on some level that it's an experience that I'm choosing, but I couldn't get in touch with that, what she's saying, that delicious, tasty feeling. I mean, it just feels horrible, but it was like I was seeing it as like, well, the first thing was like a barrier, between me and God. But I could just feel all of this anger rising towards God and like wanting to have a standoff with him. And choosing to stay small, like she was saying. Kind of came in bits and pieces, and yeah, that's it for now.
Yeah, what I'm hearing there is relishing the choice to be small, helpless. I have no control over anything, but thinking I do. I'll throw a temper tantrum. I'll show you.
Mm.
And we throw temper tantrums in all kinds of ways when we're feeling helpless. May not be throwing pudding or screaming and shouting, but it's like, I can't do that and I'm not going to. And you can't make me.
And the block feels stronger in the heart now.
The block feels stronger in the heart, Kathy?
Yeah. That was Laura.
That was Laura.
Oh, Laura, sorry, Laura.
It's okay.
What do you mean the block feels stronger in the heart?
Well, the experience is that there's a blockage in that area, the heart, symbolically, the flow of love.
So there's
Is our words I'm using.
Yeah.
Heart being symbolic of love.
Is that block helplessness?
All I want to do is, it's just honesty is my experience right now is this vibrational representation. So I don't have a word response to that.
Is it
Good question.
paralyzing?
Mm. No, it's just awareness.
Okay.
I'm aware of a very strong desire to blame God for my helplessness.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yes. God is very convenient in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see it's almost like a child / ink blot, but the ink blot, would be like spouting out all these different colors, like a kid would be kicking, spouting out its arms and its legs. But this is more like a splotch of all different colors that's doing that. Like a fit of color.
And is that rebellion against helplessness, or how does that tie in with helplessness?
My sense is it would be projection. It would be however that pain is expressed. And for a child, it would often be like acting out.
Okay, I'm hearing to focus some more on the relishing, the wanting of helplessness. It seems like to the ego mind, this is a futile way to go about things. However, these are the instructions and the guidance given by the inner voice, by Jesus, by Holy Spirit, for releasing or seeing all these blocks we put up, the blame, the projection, the whatever. So let's focus some more on the wanting of helplessness.
I heard that the light is not helpless at all. And that's
The light's not what?
the light is not helpless.
The light is not helpless. Yeah.
And it's the doing nothing except watching with him. I'm getting the image I got, was that yesterday or the day before, Kathleen, with the taking the desire or the perceived belief or desire and turning it into a stone or a pebble, dropping that pebble into a pond and watching the ripples go out. And then with him, turning it all over to him, and the ripples come back into the center, and then dropping down or up into the light.
So beautiful.
It sounds like the miracle. So if we take this desire all the way down, the relishing of this desire for helplessness, down, 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 and each one of you has talked some about the pleasure and the relishing, although sometimes that's hard to see below our level of awareness, the relishing for helplessness or the relishing of sickness or guilt or whatever. there is down there a great wanting of this. And Jesus, what would you have us see here about how much we love to feel helpless?
It's too hard. I don't want to. And then that squeaking noise in the background, I got this image of a tricycle that needs oil badly, and you're trying to pedal. It's just like,
Don't want to see it. Don't want to look. Yeah.
but you're trying, there's like there's the kid who's trying to push through that stuckness.
I had something come up too with the underneath the helplessness. There is this really raging sense of despair. A despair that is so isolating that we couldn't possibly get help for the helplessness, because the despair has cut us off at the knees on every possible level. Feels very awful
Mhm.
in the stomach as I say this.
And is there any relishing, Jesus, for despair, for this underneath this helplessness, this raging despair? What is driving that?
What I'm hearing for that is the belief or the desire that God is dead. I'm seeing a complete wasteland. And the sense of you're kidding yourself. I mean, it's quite pernicious, and it's a sense of all the doors are locked. It's down and dirty, and completely isolating. The mind is closing in, and it is feeling completely veiled by a sense of nothingness. Ain't no hope, nowhere, no how, that kind of thing. And don't kid yourself with this fairy tale. I mean, it's coming up.
Yeah, it's dark.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's nothing airy fairy, light and breezy here.
So let's look at that. Underneath all this desire for helplessness and powerlessness and despair, and then the darkness. And there is within all of that a belief in it, that it's got us and there's no way out. And is that so? Is that true? Jesus, what would you have us see about such darkness and despair? Is this true? Is this true in the light of being? Is this our only choice?
I'm hearing only if you let it be, only if you keep choosing it.
And of course, in miracles and also in Jesus, the New Covenant, Jesus talks over and over again about saying no to the ego, no to the darkness. It's like we keep hearing we made it up or we choose it. We're like, oh, that can really make you mad. But it's not being of any service and it's not true. And the more we look at it as a desire that I really want so I can deny God, I get to blame God, or I get to hide, or I get to be helpless, then nothing happens. I just stay there stuck. Then it becomes a desire to be stuck in helplessness.
Quicksand.
Jesus, is there another way of looking at this? Am I willing to see, open to the possibility there's another way of looking at despair and helplessness?
I hear a yes.
Me too.
Yeah, am I willing to look? Am I willing to entertain that possibility? Jesus, are we ready to look at this differently? Are we ready for a miracle? And just be honest about it. You may or may not be ready, and either one is still getting us somewhere. So let's look at that desire again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Let's look at the relishing of that desire again, the relishing of the desire to be helpless. Feels a little lighter.
Yeah.
Not quite so serious.
Mm-hmm. Does.
So it's about time. We have a time constraint here somewhat. So when we get to this point in our looking at desires where some of us may be ready to see it differently and some of us may not, there can be the recognition that just by the willingness to look, it is lighter, and that's all it takes. It does take the next step. Well, it takes the looking on our part, and then the next step is done by the Holy Spirit, by God. And that is to open up a different way of looking at it. And some of these seem so deep and so intractable that you're like, okay, I'm going to have to do this one about 30 more times. And that's just to lighten it up a little bit. I'm going to have to do this more. And that's okay. As long as we're asking Jesus for help, as long as we're seeing it come up and willing to look at it, willing to bring it up. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank
You're very
you.
welcome. Yeah, thank you from San Juan and
you.
love San Juan Kosala.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
and we'll see you next week, if not before. Bye-bye. I'm
Bye.
gonna
Bye,
figure out
Mary.
how to turn this
Bye.
off.